First of all, the new Final Cut Pro 11 magnetic mask is psycho. Where's my laser beam? Ooh. I did not expect this to work. I just dropped it on a clip of me walking through some woods. When I walk behind trees, it picks me up. Walking behind bushes, it picks me up and basically keeps me perfectly rotoscoped. The camera is moving. The background of the scene is just crazy busy. I get completely covered up by trees a few different times, and it remembers what it was tracking and just picks me up as I emerge on the other side. This is insanity. Then I can just toss a cartoon filter on there and have basically the Take On Me music video effect rendering in real time. And it took barely longer than it takes to play back the footage to make it. This is wild. Final Cut Pro 11 just dropped with some new tools that are super useful and actually work really well. What you're seeing here is not one of them. These laser beams are in camera. This is a practical effect. And I'm gonna turn it off because it's kind of distracting and honestly really bright. Alexa, turn on Nick's studio. A little more traditional. There's a lot of haze in the air. I really wanted that laser to come through. The new M4 Max just started shipping also, and I have both the slowest one and the fastest one with me here now. Today I'm gonna test whether or not you really need this new hardware to take advantage of these new things like the magnetic mask or like the auto transcribe feature. And of course, you don't need new Macs to do these things, but I'm gonna nail down just how much of a difference the M4 will make in this workflow versus the M1. After all, I'm a big supporter of helping to justify big unnecessary gear purchases. I also have a base model M1 Mac Mini, the world's most basic Apple Silicon machine, and an M1 Max here that we're gonna pit against these new M4 computers. Test number 1, the magnetic mask. Rotoscoping our way into the future. With this new tool, you can do a few things that are a little magical. For one, you can just drag any effect right onto the viewer, and specifically right onto whatever subject you'd like to affect. Let's say I want to do a quick and dirty version of a Star Wars holo projector right here on this scene. In Final Cut, I can pull and drag a security footage filter right onto me, right onto the viewer. It will auto-select what it thinks is the subject that you've chosen, and then you can refine the selection by clicking around with this eyedropper tool or option clicking to take things away. Then somewhere over here, just hit analyze and it will draw a mask around you frame by frame, no matter which way you're moving, so that this effect only affects that part of the screen. Then you just hit done up here and blam, in just a few seconds, if you're making a casual Star Wars joke in your video, you can slap this effect on there for a greater effect. Please, Apple, you're my only hope. You can also apply a blank magnetic mask by dragging magnetic mask over to a layer on your timeline. Then up in the viewer, you have that little eyedropper tool. You just click on whatever you want to be your subject, whatever you want it to cut out of the scene. It'll rotoscope whatever you've chosen and leave you with like a little sprite behind. One way to make use of this, let's say I want some sort of title to be sort of floating behind me in this room. After I've applied magnetic mask to a layer on my timeline, I can hold down Option and just drag that layer up above itself. So now there's 2 of them. On the bottom layer, delete that magnetic mask. So now on the top layer, I just have me separate from me and the background in the bottom layer. Then I can take a text layer and sandwich it in between those 2 layers. So the text is gonna be above the background and I'm gonna be above the text. Then you get this nice looking animated text floating behind you, rotoscoping into the future. Can I make that joke twice? It's genius. And yeah, previously you could already do that with the scene removal tool, but you had to have a static background for that to work. The magnetic mask will do it even if I've got my camera on a slider over there, so my background is moving and I've got these twinkling lights changing things back there all over the place. The magnetic mask will work even if the scene that I want to shoehorn a title into, but behind the subject, is a middle-aged man walking in front of some woods. I will be using this tool. This is incredible. In that same vein, I can take that same footage of me walking in front of those woods, magnetic mask me out of that scene, and then shrink it down and drop that magnetic walking Nicholas onto my desk. And if I take the time to line up his feet while he's taking steps, now I can get this nice little green screen look without using a green screen. Did I track him across the desk at the right pace? In fact, a moving background full of pine trees in the daytime with flat light is about as far from a green screen as you could possibly get. The fact that he's as clean as he is without any adjustments is wild. And you can go in frame by frame if you want to refine it. There's little brush tools and plus and minus tools, so you can refine the rotoscope frame by frame if you want to get real particular with it. And it doesn't have to be these arguably silly, maybe for the most part totally pointless effects that you use this tool to do. Maybe you shot some footage that you simply cannot reshoot. And maybe the foreground was too underexposed or overexposed, and you just want to make some kind of change, but just to the subject. Camille here is actually exposed pretty well, but maybe I want to leave this room looking really dull and drab and flat, and only enhance the colors on her. So I run a magnetic mask on a second layer of this shot. Now she's cut out from the background. I'm lazy, so I'll just hit this enhance light and color button, and blammo. She's vibrant and enhanced without touching the room behind her. Voila. So I've been showing these effects kind of sped up so I can keep talking through it while you see it working. But here's how fast these 4 different computers are able to pull this effect off. And you might be happy to hear and see that even Apple's weakest machine, a Mac that you can buy on eBay for like a couple $100, can handle these new features, albeit a little slower, but not as slower as I would have thought. First of all, sidebar, with a single camera shot, like if you make talking head videos that look like this with one camera, even in 4K, this computer can edit videos like that without feeling slow, with no problem at all. Final Cut Pro does not use a lot of RAM, and it's only when you get into like multicam edits with a few adjustment layers, color correction, film grain, and whatever else on top that you need something more than this base model M1. That alone is already bonkers, but layer it up and this thing takes a huge dump. But anyways, tracing out Camille here in an empty white room, the M1 base model with 8 gigs of RAM took 63 seconds to rotoscope a 30-second clip. This is something that historically took hours to accomplish by hand with brute force. This M1 Max MacBook Pro with 32 gigs of RAM and the 30-core GPU did that same work in 56 seconds. Surprisingly, barely any faster from a computer that's 3 to 5 times as powerful at doing literally anything else. The M4 Mac Mini, this is the base model M4 with 16 gigs of RAM, was able to do this same work in 40 seconds for a 30-second clip. And the winner, but just barely, was this 36 gig M4 Max, which traced out this 30-second clip almost in real time at 37 seconds. So, obviously, using magnetic mask pretty much doesn't use the GPU at all. Otherwise, the M4 Max would just stomp all over all the rest of these computers. Final Cut Pro is only using 3 gigs of RAM while performing this task. And I'm even gonna say it's not really the CPU making this happen either. I took a look at iStatistica Pro while Final Cut Pro was cutting me out of those woods again, and it's hitting all of the CPUs, but it's using a total of less than 200%. I've seen this thing approach 1400% CPU usage when I'm doing like a Cinebench benchmark. So the magnetic mask is using like 1/7 of this computer's actual potential. It has to be running primarily on the neural engine, which I have no way to meter, unfortunately. And it looks like using one of these brand new computers is not a whole lot faster than using an old computer. I mean, it is faster, but the M4 Max is not even twice the speed of the base model M1. That said, if you plan to use this feature a lot, like if you're going to be removing yourself from entire videos that are many minutes long, the new M4s will save you a lot of time. But surprisingly, the M4 Max will hardly save you any more time than the M4 base model, which is many thousands of dollars cheaper. Also, if you have a lot of rendering to do, like if you use complex titles, or if you just have many adjustment layers, or many animated titles, and color grading and effects, or if you do a lot of time lapses, the CPU and GPU speed on the M4s make rendering much faster than those on the M1s. I just don't layer up much on my videos at all. In fact, even my main shot, this main camera, this is just the color that comes straight out of the camera. I shoot in HLG3 and then just convert it to a Rec 2020 color space, and this is what comes out. I've got my flow to where I don't even color correct this shot. Everybody looks at it in a different monitor anyway. It looks completely different on different monitors anyway. So what's the point of spending so much time making sure my colors are just right? Now, where was I? Australia. Yes, Australia. I am happy to report that even though this new magnetic mask feature seems like it should require a supercomputer, your old hardware can handle it. As long as you're on Apple Silicon. I don't think the Intel machines can handle it. Final Cut Pro 11 also added a transcribe to captions capability, another trick taking advantage of Apple's machine learning magic. But that process on an 8-minute video takes like 9 seconds. So don't spend $3 grand more to save yourself 4 seconds. I think that's all I have to say about that. I am loving these new M4 Max. I got my mailer boxes finally to send in my M1s, so I'm probably only going to be able to squeeze out one more hardware comparison video this weekend before sending these things away forever. That whole last paragraph could have easily been cut from this video. I am sorry I wasted 11 seconds of your time. Thank you for making it to the end. Please subscribe. Goodbye.